We'll go ahead and sign in and log out. Okay, everything's looking good. And now what I'd like to do is go ahead and work on our upload components so that we can start seeing our gallery. So we'll click upload here, and you can see basically we need to write this component. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down, and we'll head over into our upload component. So in our upload folder, we'll visit our upload component file, and I'm going to go ahead and paste the imports here. So we're just doing some standard imports here. Have a bit of a typo here. We just come one directory up into our services directory to find our upload service. And likewise for our upload model, which we need to actually create. And so let's go ahead and create that. So under our models directory here, we're going to go ahead and create a new file, and we're going to call it upload.model.ts. And so this class that we'll export here, class upload, this is going to represent the data that we send to Firebase for our upload. So that's how we actually want to represent that data. So we're going to have a key, which will be a string. We'll have a JavaScript file type, and then we'll have the URL. And then we will also want to create a little progress bar. So we'll create a progress, which will be represented as a type of number. And then we'll have a created on property of type date. Okay, and then we're also going to create a constructor here for our type file here. So this is a JavaScript file, and we'll set this .file equal to the file when we have a new instance of an upload. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this, and I'm going to close out some of the other unused tabs as well. Okay, so the way that I want to set up this upload form is that I want to provide the user with the ability to select more than one file at a time to upload, which would often be the case if you wanted to say like upload an entire directory of images, for instance. And so we'll represent those as a JavaScript file list. And then we'll also have the upload itself, which will be of type upload that we just created. And then we're going to inject an upload service into our constructor here. And of course our service here, like all other services in our service layer, will be concerned with, in this case, interacting with Firebase and the data that it is sending and receiving. So I'm going to go ahead and actually also just remove on init here. And we know that we're essentially going to want to write an upload method here, right? So we'll create a method called upload, and we want to make a reference to the files that the user has chosen to upload via this form. And so we'll call this files to upload. We'll set that to a constant, and it's going to be equal to this.files. And now I'm going to use a library called Lodash, which provides some particularly useful methods when working with arrays in JavaScript. And so you can see that I've imported Lodash here. And what I'm going to do first is to actually create an array of numbers corresponding to the length of the number of files that a user has chosen to upload. And we'll do that with Lodash.range and then files to upload.length. And just to see this kind of working intuitively, I think it might be useful to console log this out so we can kind of see it as we build it. This is perhaps one of the more complicated areas of our application, and so I think in this case it's useful just to kind of see how it's working. So before we make this do anything more useful, let's just go ahead and wire up the upload to print something out to the console. And actually before I do that, I can see we're going to have a name collision here. So let's just name this upload files. And then we'll head over into our upload component.html, and we'll just write up some quick HTML here to sort of mock out our upload action. So we'll have a class container with a heading that'll say upload new images. And then for now we'll just wire up a button and bind a click event here to upload files. Okay, is that what we called it here? Yeah, upload files. All right, so let's go ahead and actually see how this works. Let's head into the browser. And yeah, we don't have our styling set up yet, but if we click upload images here, cannot read property length of undefined. Well, that's because we haven't selected any files. So I'm going to move this over here for a minute, And what I'm going to do is we'll move this below. And then just to kind of get the styling a little bit better here, I'm also just going to go ahead and paste in our upload CSS. Okay, so yeah, just so you can see that, we have this container again with the same box shadow and some padding, and then the heading and the button style just a little bit. All right, so let's go back into our upload component here, and I'm going to scoot this over just a little bit, and we'll remove this for now. We'll just comment that out. And so now when we click on upload files, what I want to do is just console log something out here. We'll actually log out the range of files to upload.length. So I guess I should have just edited the row below. So if I save that, and again, if I click here, we're going to get an exception because files to upload is undefined. So naturally, let's just provide the user the ability to upload some files. So above our button here and below the heading is where our file input will go. And we're going to bind an on change event here to handle files. And yeah, we're going to pass that the event of having attached them. And then we can use this multiple directive here in order to say that we want to be able to provide more than one file to the same form here. And so you can see that we get this choose files button. And so we could test this out, but first let's go ahead and write our handle files, otherwise we'll get an exception that doesn't exist. So above upload files, we will handle files. And so on the change event that the user has essentially attached files or pass files to this form, we want to set this .files in our component to the event, in other words, the change event here, target.files. And of course I mean equals here. So we want to actually set this files to the target files attached to the form. Okay, so it's as simple as that. We're just setting the user's files to the files that are on our component here on the change event that they actually attach them. So let's go ahead and test out console logging the this range of files to upload.length. So this should be an array that is a series of numbers going from 0 to n, where n is the length of the files to upload. So I'll just select 3 files here, and then we'll click upload images. And so yeah, so we can see that we have this array 0, 1, 2. So that's all this Lodash.range is doing for us. So we're just going to set that array to a constant files index. And so now essentially we want to do something for each of these files, right? So we have a collection of files. We have an array of numbers which has an index for each of the files. And so we want to do something for each of them. And so Lodash provides us with a .each method that will iterate over some collection. So in this case, let's just go over our list of numbers here. And then we can do something to each of those numbers in our collection here. And so we'll say for each index, let's just go ahead and console.log some information out to the page that we can see what's going on. Let's go ahead and just log out the files to upload at that particular index. So if we do that, let's go ahead and choose files, and we'll choose 4 files again and click upload. You can see that we have an object for each of those files, and we can see more information about them on the page here. This is pretty cool. You can see that we have the file name and then some metadata here like its size and when it was modified, and yeah, a few other things here. So that's pretty cool. You can see we also get its MIME type here, which I guess could potentially be used for some type of validation. I think there's something called file reader which you can use, but in any case, I just wanted to console log out here just to show you what Lodash.each is doing. It's actually really nice syntax, I think. What we're going to do is instead, I'll just go ahead and comment this out, but we're going to set this.upload to a new upload. And if you recall, this upload has a constructor, and so we can just pass it from files to upload, again the index. So if you recall, over in our upload model here, we set our file object here to the JavaScript file. So let's go ahead and close this, and I'll make this small again. So yeah, so we're setting our upload, and now we can use our upload service to actually push it up to our Firebase database. So we'll write a method here just call it upload file, and we'll go ahead and pass it this .upload. So let's go ahead into our upload service and write that method. So I'm just going to F12 here, and I'm going to go ahead and make this full screen as well. For now, we'll revisit that page in just a few minutes. I'm going to paste the imports, except that our upload is coming from models.model. Okay, so once again, let's interact with Firebase. And so we'll have a constructor here with a private Angular Fire module and a private Angular Fire database. Okay, Angular Fire database. Awesome. And so we are going to write our upload file method, which we know takes an upload. And so here is where the bulk of our Firebase interaction will occur in this application. We're going to have a storage ref is equal to firebase.storage, which is a method.ref. And then we're going to have a constant put upload, which is going to be called via this storage ref .child. And then we're going to do some sort of string interpolation here with this dot. We need to provide a path, so I'm going to call this our base path. So in other words, sort of like what's the name of the directory that we want to store our uploads in. Let's go ahead and set that here. And while we're up here, let's also go ahead and have a private uploads, which will be a Firebase list observable of a gallery image array. Okay, so in any case, we need to set our base path here. And just to be clear, I corrected this. String interpolation is of course with curly braces and not parens. So let's go ahead and store the image at this .base path, and then we're going to just use the upload file name, so file.name here. And then we can just say .put upload.file. And it's actually just as simple as that. I think that that's actually kind of cool that this action of putting an upload into our database is just a matter of referencing its location and then just pushing this file directly to it. So this is actually an upload task, a Firebase upload task, that's the type. And so yeah, I'm a fan of this syntax and how simple it is to actually make a reference to the location that you want to put the file and just call .put and pass the file. So I think that that is fantastic. So now Firebase gives us something else that's really great, which is the ability to monitor the task as it's being uploaded and get some information about whether or not it was successful or if it failed, and then to do something in each of those cases. So what we're going to say is put upload, and in fact I'm going to rename this to upload task because it is a type of Firebase upload task. Okay, and so we'll say upload task dot on, and then we have this Firebase storage task event dot state changed. Okay, so this is very similar syntax to other Firebase methods you may have used, but essentially we're going to have 3 observers, and I'm just going to make some comments here so that it's clear if you look back at this or as we go along. So we'll have a state changed observer, and so we'll have an arrow function for that, and this is sort of our data snapshot. But what this is going to do is that it's actually going to allow us to monitor an upload in progress. And so this is why we had the progress property on our upload model. With this we can do some pretty cool stuff. So for instance, if we wanted to create a progress bar, like we will, then we can take a look at the current snapshot of the upload task, and we have this bytes transferred property on it. And so we can actually just divide that by the total bytes and then multiply that by 100. And so now we have a percentage of upload that has completed. And so we can set our upload progress bar dynamically here while we wait for the upload to complete. Again, this is one of the really cool things about observables. Okay, and then so we'll have our second observer here. And before I go any further, I'm going to correct this typo here. Okay. And now we'll have our second observer here, which is our error observer. And so if the error failed, excuse me, if the upload failed, then for now let's just go ahead and console log the error. We could handle this more elegantly if we wanted to add more complexity to our application, but for our purposes we're just going to go ahead and log the error. And then finally, as you might expect, I can get rid of this IntelliSense, which is horrible, we have a success observer. I'm just going to type this as any so that TypeScript stays relatively happy. We'll go ahead and set the upload URL equal to the URL that's on our upload task snapshot, our data snapshot. And then we can go ahead and call a save file data method, pass it our upload, and we just need to write that. But I thought I would write this as a separate method here. So let's go ahead and write that. We'll have a private save file data, and we pass our upload of type upload. And now we just say this.db.list. And again, we use string interpolation here to get the location, and we'll call .push our upload onto that list. Okay, and I'm just going to fix a quick typo here. It looks like this is probably supposed to be our curly brace. This doesn't need a semicolon. And it looks like we're probably missing a curly brace here, because this belongs on the outside. This all makes sense here in a minute. And I'm just going to go ahead and select everything and auto format. Okay, so everything looks good except that looks like total bytes does not exist on upload task, which of course is because we need to select the snapshot property and then we have access to total bytes. Alright, cool. Let's see. We also actually want to set our file name here as well. Sorry, upload.name. We have a name property on our upload, I believe, is equal to upload.filename. So name doesn't exist on upload. Did I not set that? Let's go ahead and take a look. No, I didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and add that too. So let's head back into our upload service. So yeah, in short, we have a reference to our storage. We have this Firebase upload task, which we can pass an upload, or the file on an upload here, which is the JavaScript file. And then this upload task is essentially going to raise some progress events in the state changed observer. So we can actually, in that case, monitor its progress. And in our case, we're just going to actually look at the bytes that have been transferred and take the ratio of total bytes there to get the percentage of the file that has uploaded during this progress. Our files are going to be really small, so we'll probably just see it go from 0 to 100. I don't know how quickly this snapshot would then get passed back to our component. But in any case, it does provide us with some nice functionality. Then we also have observers on error and on success. So once we have success in uploading this file, we can then save our file data and push it to our database. And so let's go ahead and console.log some messages here. So like file saved, and then we can see the URL. And let's also just console log the progress. So this just might be some neat things to kind of take a look at while we upload files. So let's go ahead and head back to our application, and let's go ahead and choose some files here. I'm just going to go ahead and select 5 files here, and let's see if we get any errors when we try to upload images. Okay, so we're actually getting this no storage bucket defined in Firebase options. So let's head into Firebase and see if we can figure that out. I'm going to make the browser full screen for a minute, and we'll head over into storage, and I'm just going to create a new folder here called uploads. Alright, cool. So we'll close this little message and move the browser back here, head back to our application. Alright, so I've refreshed the page here, and then I'm going to select 5 files again. And now we're going to click upload. So I think what we need to do is to actually take a look over at our environment files. So let's head down to environments, and then environments here. You can see that our storage bucket properties are both empty. So let's head back over to the Firebase console here, and we'll click add Firebase to our web app, and now our storage bucket should be set up. So I guess I actually just copied these values out before I set up the storage bucket. So in the future I should note to actually do that first. In any case, I'm going to go ahead and paste that reference in here. Okay, and then I'm just going to go ahead and copy that, and we'll also paste it in our environment.prod. Alright, cool. So now we can close those out, and hopefully we can see our application upload properly now. So we'll head here, we'll select 5 images again, and let's see if it works this time or if we have more errors. So we're going to go ahead and click upload. And yeah, so we're getting file saved messages out to the console now, along with the URL where each of the files are located. So let's go ahead and click on one. You can see that we're now actually hosting this image on Firebase storage. So that's pretty cool. It also looks like we're actually just logging 0 and 100 for progress. So I suppose if we had a larger file, we'd have more state change updates occurring over time in our observable. But for our case in these small files, we're just going directly from 0 to 100. But that's fine. We could still make a progress bar. So let's go ahead and make one of those really quickly here. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and paste this in the interest of time here. And so we have this ngIf directive here saying that while upload is occurring, or if upload is occurring, which is going to happen inside of our upload files method here, where we set this.upload equal to a new upload, we're going to show this progress bar animation. And we can set the style on the progress bar using ngStyle here, and we're just going to set its width equal to the percentage, which is represented in our progress property here. And then just essentially by concatenating this % on the end, that's how we actually change the width of it. So then we are just going to display the progress as a % complete. And yeah, this is an animated bar, so we're going to actually see it animate from 0 to 100. So that's pretty simple. Let's go ahead and take a look at what it looks like on our page. I'll go ahead and make this full screen for now. Let's go ahead and choose a few more images here. So we'll choose 6 and 7 and 8. Go ahead and upload those. And our progress bar is up there. It's just hidden behind our nav bar. So I think we need to add some more CSS here. Actually, in fact, we already have the CSS. I think I just need to wrap this in a container div. And now that I think of it, I probably didn't do this styling properly. I should just have a container div that each of the routed components sits inside rather than having this repeated code everywhere, but I'll leave that for you or for me later. In any case, if we take a look back at the page now, yeah, that almost looks correct, although it looks like maybe I have more copy and paste errors here. So let's just set, I'm just going to kind of make this kind of hacky for now. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we'll just leave some padding and some margin at the top here, and maybe I'll leave like 80 margin at the top. So let's take a look back at the page. All right, so yeah, this isn't perfect, but it does give us a very simple form here. So I'll leave it to you to style this a little bit better. In any case, let's go ahead and just upload another couple of files here to take a look. So at the very least, you can see our progress bar here. So that's pretty cool. Let's head over to the actual gallery component now. And so yeah, you can see that our images are actually coming in off of the server quite well. So that's working properly. So the last thing that we need to do is to actually set up the image detail view, and that should be pretty simple. It may be hard to see, but if you take a look down at the bottom of the screen as I hover over these images where the links are pointing, you'll see that we have this sort of Firebase key representing part of the path. And so, like I said, you may want to explore using instead like the file name and truncating off the file extension, or coming up with your own way to index these as they get uploaded. But in any case, for our purposes, yeah, I'm just using the key that you can see here. So here's our image detail view. You can see that we're not actually displaying the image out yet. So let's go ahead back into our image service and wire up that functionality. So I'm going to actually just move this off to one side, and we'll make it a little bit smaller here. And we've saved probably the simplest component for last. So we'll head over into our image directory, our image detail directory, excuse me, and then we'll take a look at our image detail component.typescript file. Go ahead and paste the imports here. And for now, I'll actually make the code full screen. So standard stuff here, we've got the router, we've got the image service, and the gallery image model, as well as observable from RxJS. And so, as you might expect in our constructor here, we'll inject an instance of our image service, as well as our router. And for this, we'll inject activated route. Okay, I'm going to put these on separate lines so that you can see them more easily. And so when this detail page initialized, what I want to do is essentially get the URL of the image from Firebase and use it in an image tag to display the image on the page. So we'll create a private image URL to store it. And we can type it as a string, but TypeScript will yell at us and tell us that it's obvious. So it'll say like the string is trivially inferred from a string literal. So in this case, we don't need to actually type it. And so now within our ng-on-init method, what we're going to do is actually try to get the image URL. So we'll write a method for that. But in order to get the image URL from the database, we need to pass it the ID, which if you recall, in our case, we're just using the key from the database anyway. So from our route. So we're actually going to look in the route snapshot params for the ID. That's going to actually return us the Firebase key. And then I'm going to write a method getImageURL, which is going to take this key, and then we're going to write our getImage method on our image service to return it. And we're going to have this return a promise. So we'll set it here. We'll say the image URL is equal to this image URL once it's resolved. So not get images, but get image. So this is a new method that we need to write on our image service. So let's go ahead and head over to our image service. Again, you can hit F12 if you're in Visual Studio Code. And so we'll write that here underneath of get images. So we take our key, and we're going to return firebase.database.ref, and we need to look in our uploads directory for the location plus key. So we're passing it the key, and then we'll find it in our upload folder underneath referenced using its key. And in order to get something once from Firebase, we are simply going to call .once, and we actually need to say .once and then pass it the string value. But this is useful because it tells Firebase that we don't expect this data to change, and so we just need to load it from the database once, and it provides us that ability. So, but we have a promise here, and so we'll take a look at our snapshot and get the value. And this is just simply going to return us the URL for our image here. So let's head back into our image detail component. And so just to recap, we are going to use the image service here based on the key which we are getting from our route because of the way that we set up our routing. And we're going to pass that into our image service for it to use that value to essentially query Firebase and return us the URL that corresponds to the image with that key. So now if we go into our image detail component HTML, and I'm just going to delete what's in here, and we'll have some simple HTML here. This will look actually quite similar to what we had in the original gallery application. We've got our style set here, where in this case we are going to set the background image URL to the URL that the image URL property here that's in our component. And we have a class here with some styling that I'll apply to it. So we'll go into our style sheets very quickly. And in fact, the only styling that I'm going to use is a single class here, image container, which just has some very basic styling here. So some margin and setting a min, height, and width on it, as well as another horrible box shadow. Alright, so here, in fact, I can also take off the unused paper class here. Okay, so let's take a look at our page and see if it's working. Alright, so we are getting a blank image, which means that we probably have an error. And it looks like it's saying cannot read property URL of null from our promise. So let's go take a look. Perhaps we named that differently. Back into our component here. And so it's saying it can't read probably this. So what I'm going to do here is we'll go ahead and copy this down to another line. I'm going to comment this one out. And we're going to console.log what's getting returned here. So let's head back to our page. And we're actually getting null. So let's go back into our getImage method and try to troubleshoot this a little bit. And I already see the error here. We need to actually I hope this is the error. We need to be referencing uploads and not upload, because upload has nothing in it. Alright, so let's go back to the page. And yeah, it looks like we're now logging that out to the console properly. So we can just actually go back into our image detail component and hopefully just remove this line and just uncomment this line back out. And so now our getImage URL will return hopefully the URL property on our image URL once the promise is resolved. And I apologize, we probably should just call this image, and then that way we can say image.url. I think that's a lot more clear. So let's head back to the page now. And yeah, so there's our detail view. Again, should probably be applying a container around the router here. So in fact, I'm going to do that just to go ahead and clean things up. I'm going to head back into our login component. I'm going to remove the container that's around it. Then I'm going to head into our index.html file, and just inside our body tag wrapping around our app root here, I'm going to create a div with class of main content. So, and then inside of our styles.css where we have our global styles, I'm just going to go ahead and write a main content class here, and we'll apply some padding to the top of 60 pixels. And I'm going to set the font color to something dark, and then just a few other things here. Maybe in the body we'll have a default font family of Lato since we brought that in from Google Fonts, and we'll set our background color to something slightly less than white perhaps. And then for all of our headings, at least globally, we'll set them to our cabin font, sans serif, with a sort of gray color. Okay, so that should fix kind of our container type issues that we were having earlier. So now everything should be offset here. So our upload form and our login form here. So we'll go ahead and we can log in. And yeah, so we can see our gallery. So in fact, this completes the basic functionality of our upgraded gallery application. So as you can see, we've removed filtering for now. I'll save that for a future video. But we've integrated something perhaps more important, which is the ability to authenticate a user and to host our images in the cloud using Firebase storage. Notice also that from the Firebase console here, you can head over into your database. You can see the different records we have for all of our uploads here. It's saving the URL and the file name as well as the latest progress, which should be at 100 for all of these. But you can imagine that here may be a place that you also want to include more metadata. So for example, reintroducing the concept of categories and caption that we had on our original application. But as I said, that can be something that maybe we'll look at in a future video. If we head over into storage, note also here we can see the folder that we have, and here we have links for all of our images. So yeah, that completes this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you got something out of this video, I'd really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.